House bill extends TSA intelligence sharing to mass transit. The Transportation Security Administration already shares intelligence it collects with airports. Now a House bill will expand TSA's intel sharing to local mass transit systems as well. Representative Jackie Speier, Democrat, California, oh what a surprise, the bill's sponsor, said the legislation is a common sense approach. Kind of like common sense gun control. I think that's the other times they use that stupid term. Common sense approach to fighting terrorism. The House passed the bill May 30th, and the Senate Committee on Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs is now considering the bill. In an interview with the Federal Drive with Tom Temin and Emily Kapp, Speier said the bill creates, quote, fusion centers where the TSA can provide intel to local law enforcement and emergency management officials. That's funny. I didn't think it was TSA's job to be providing intel to law enforcement, since they are not a law enforcement organization that I know of. We have to put in place through TSA a very elaborate system, quote, in airports. We all go through those metal detectors and those secondary searches, and we've put a lot of focus on the airlines for good reason, but we have neglected the mass transit components, generally speaking, she said. Speier said 2 million people fly each day, compared with more than 5 million who ride the subway each day in New York City alone. She pointed out that the most recent terrorist attacks have been on mass transit. Also, when U.S. Special Forces raided Osama bin Laden's compound last year, intelligence gathered revealed the next attack was intended for mass transit. The writing's on the wall. We need to be better prepared than we are right now, Speier said. Transit riders probably won't see TSA agents in subways, probably, or bus stops, though, Speier said. The expanded TSA role falls more on analysis, she said. Yeah, right. Okay, so let's take a look at this, folks. Now we're getting an expansion of these quote-unquote fusion centers, or as I like to call them, confusion centers, because the far left has been trying to confuse law enforcement officers into mistaking that the American people are terrorists. This is what the far left has been doing. They've been doing this now for quite some time. So now, of course, as communists and socialists and Marxists and progressives and liberals and all these other funny words that they love to describe themselves, as you can see, once again, they are in love with viral government. And here we go again, and then another expansion of it, where TSA is going to have confusion centers. Now, remember, folks, that it was Department of Homeland Security under the Obama regime that started all this confusion center stuff. Well, this isn't DHS, because DHS covers a whole range of agencies. This is TSA. I know sometimes it gets confusing with all these multiple alphabet soup lettering things. But this is an individual agency called TSA. And you remember after 9/11, when TSA was created, for whatever it's worth, if my memory serves me correctly, the Republicans were against the creation of TSA, and the Marxists, the Democrats, were massively in favor of it. And as we see now, a decade later, they want to expand it. Okay? So, here we go. The original intent of TSA was to take over from private security at the airports. Now, through folks like this, they want to transform. I mean, do you see where this is heading? The left is trying to transform TSA, who were airport screeners, into now yet another intelligence gathering operation. And usually, you know, intel is just another word for spying without search warrants or probable cause. Kind of like how they had they revealed recently that there's 30,000 spy warrants signed in them secret courts every year. Very little arrests from what we can tell. 1 million people on the watch list for, what is it now, a decade? Again, do we have a million terrorists in this country? Do we have 1 million people in jail or prison for terrorism? Have they expanded Guantanamo Bay to put in all these American terrorists? Because I'm not seeing it. So now we have confusion centers. They want this tyrant here, wants the TSA to now become another spy agency and work with law enforcement. Now, you know, like I've said before, to my knowledge, TSA is not an armed organization yet. It's not a law enforcement organization yet, but it's sure looking, I'll use her own words, the writing's on the wall. This is where they want to take TSA. They want to turn them into another spy agency, and they want to turn them into a law enforcement agency. So, remember this, folks. Okay, we've been going through this now since 9/11. This is over a decade now, okay? Instead of returning our country back to more common sense security measures, right? Where we're more free, it's these folks that have been taking our freedoms away. It's these folks that have been turning this country into Stalag 17, into another communist gulag, into a maximum security prison, okay? And what I've been watching now for the last decade, and the last few years in particular, on social networking sites, of course, is that all this time and energy has been spent screaming and yelling at police uniforms, at TSA uniforms. You know what I'm saying? It's always the cops. It's the cops' fault that there's global warming. It's the cops' fault that you're getting jacked up the checkpoint. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, after a decade of this, what has that changed? Has that put a stop to any of this? No! No, it hasn't stopped it at all. Not only that, as you can see by your own eyes, it's expanding. So you know the definition of insanity, right, folks? You keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, hoping for a different outcome, okay? Years and years and years of screaming at police uniforms, screaming at TSA at the checkpoints, stripping down naked at the checkpoints, all this temper tantrum stuff. Ask yourself logically, did it change anything? Did it? Because that's not what I'm seeing. Okay, now, remember that people who wear uniforms, for the most part, are bottom feeders of the system. Okay, as far as the political food chain goes, they're at the bottom. Okay, who's at the top? Folks like this, the suits and the ties. So if you want to finally affect some change, in my worthless opinion, what you need to do is start focusing on suits and ties. Not uniforms, suits and ties. And may I emphasize, in a peaceful, non-violent, and law-abiding way. Remember, the First Amendment says you have a right to protest, but you must protest peaceably, and that's the key word, peaceably. No violence, all right? Now, of course, somebody's going to say, well, how do you do that? Well, I'll just give you one recent activity that I've noticed. Now this is Monday, June 25th, 2012. Okay, well, here on YouTube you can type in a word called Wearechange. Okay, go take a look at those guys. You got, what is it, one guy with a microphone, one guy with a camera, maybe a couple other folks, and they confront the suits and the ties non-violently. Okay, they do with 3 or 4 people, whatever it is, what thousands have never been able to do in the last 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years. Okay? You see what I'm saying? All this other crap screaming about cops and all the I hate cop videos and, you know, all the comment section, yeah, jackbooted thugs. There's your jackbooted thugs, ladies and gentlemen. There's your jackbooted thugs. Only the jackbooted thugs wear suits and ties. Okay? Now, this is Jackie Speier, so let's take a look at this sweetheart right here. Well, of course, she's another lawyer. Yeah, another lawyer, right? Another lawyer. I'm guessing a rich lawyer, as most of them usually are. Another elitist. Okay? And the interesting point was that this Marxist, socialist, communist, whatever you want to call her, she was actually with Jim Jones in Guyana, and she got shot 5 times. The link's going to be down below, folks. Okay? This is how militant and nutcase this individual is. One of many of them. Okay? So when was the last time somebody showed up to protest her? Very few, huh? No, we're all too busy MFing the cops. The cops did everything. Anyway, folks, this is enough of today's rant. So there you go. Confusion centers, transforming the Transportation Security Administration into another spy agency, and eventually into probably another armed wing of the Democratic Party, if they have their way. So, keep an eye on this, folks, and remember who did it. This country and this world is changing as we speak. It's been change. And by the way, change is one of the most mellowest and sometimes, in the context that it may be used, deceitful words that there is in today's language. Okay? Because usually hope and change, in the end, it means we're headed towards extreme tyranny. Okay? And here you have it right here, where we're being now turned into this Soviet-type state by folks like this. Okay? You're a witness to history. Start remembering who did it to you. In the days and the months to come, when you look back on your life, and especially for older folks that can remember this country when it was never like this. It was never like this. We had freedom and we had civil rights. And these Marxists like this, these authoritarian Marxists, by the way, when I put the link down below, she, of course, being another rich lawyer, Marxist, elitist, do as I say, not as I do. She's a staunch advocate of, quote, gun control. Yeah, get the peasants disarmed before the extreme tyranny kicks in. Okay? Remember who did it. It ain't the cop uniforms. It ain't the bottom feeder TSA uniforms at the security checkpoint. It's the suits and it's the ties. Thanks for watching.